What's going on there, YouTube, and welcome back to another comic book video. Okay, guys, so we are actually going to go ahead and continue our coverage over Destiny of X. Now, remember, Destiny of X is the current era of X-Men comics. Now, it takes place after X lives and deaths of Wolverine. Now, when it comes to Destiny of X, it is technically new writers coming in and saying, can we technically build off what Jonathan Hickman did with the X-Men? Because after Inferno, Jonathan Hickman left. And with him leaving, it's now up to these new writers to come in and basically keep what he did going and to hopefully lead the X-Men in a new direction. Now, with that being said, we do pick up with Immortal X-Men. Now, Immortal X-Men was technically launched alongside with other books to begin the new era for X-Men comics, Destiny of X. Now, when it comes to Immortal X-Men, it's really focusing on the idea that the mutant race are technically immortal now. Because remember, the X-Men now have a way to technically come back to life now after they are killed off. Because now they're able to make you a new clone body and download your memories into that clone body, and you're able to continue on with your life. But also with Immortal X-Men, you're gonna have new problems popping up. And so the question is right now, can the X-Men actually handle these new problems? But the problem is though, some of these new problems are coming from the Quiet Council itself. Remember, the Quiet Council is the government body of Krakoa. And so with them right now having problems, those problems can affect the entire race of the mutants. And so let's go ahead and dive into Immortal X-Men number 1 and number 2. And so getting into Immortal X-Men number 1, we actually do pick up with Mr. Sinister and Destiny. Oh, by the way, we actually pick up with these characters back in the year 1919 in Paris. Now, if you're new to X-Men comics or new to Marvel comics, and you're trying to figure out how in the world can Destiny be here right now in the year 1919? Is she actually immortal? Now, at this moment in time, when it comes to Immortal X-Men, I have to say no. And the reason why, because from my knowledge, because I haven't read the rest of Immortal X-Men, and sometimes I do forget certain things for different X-Men characters. But when it comes to Destiny, when she first appeared, she was actually an older lady. Now, when she died as an older lady, but when she was brought back to life again in Inferno by Jonathan Hickman, she came back a tad bit younger. And so it would make somewhat sense for her to technically live all the way back in 1919. Now, when it comes to Mr. Sinister, his origin is a tad bit confusing. And matter of fact, I got word that later on in Immortal X-Men, they do rework his origin once again. Now, we also have to remember that Sinister has been playing around with genetics, which means that he could have technically found a way to kind of live longer than usual. Now, of course, these two characters are meeting up, but apparently this is not their first meeting. But apparently, it's Destiny right now telling Sinister that a war is coming. Now remember, when it comes to Destiny, she can see possible future, meaning that the futures that she sees are not for sure. Meaning that if she sees a future where Rogue dies, that future is not for sure. It's a possible future. But apparently, she says a war is coming. And when that war is coming, we have to be on the same side, Sinister. Now, she also tells him something else. The problem is though, right after she tells him something, he dies. Now, we have no idea what she told him because she had whispered it into his ear. Now, right after he died, Mystique appears. Now, we already learned a long time ago that Mystique is very old. Either way, she's also in a relationship with Destiny, but you have Mystique wondering, what did Destiny tell Mr. Sinister? But unfortunately, she does not even tell Mystique at all. But she does ask Mystique, do you trust me? And she says yes. Now, that is the moment where we do jump over to the present day. Now, getting into the present day, I'm going to tell you guys right off the bat that when it comes to Immortal X-Men, it really does focus on Mr. Sinister, especially for these two books I read so far. Now, with that being said, you do have Mr. Sinister right now going to a secret laboratory. Now, when it comes to this secret laboratory, of course, we have to remember that Mr. Sinister is great with playing with genetics. He always has been in love with playing with mutant genetics. Now, with that being said, he has been working on different kinds of projects when it comes to mutant genetics, but he's trying to make something where a mutant or some kind of being is able to hold a combination of other mutant powers in one particular body. Possibly a clone of him where he is holding a bunch of other mutant abilities. Either way, like I said, Immortal X-Men really does focus on him. Now, he does go to this laboratory, and when he does, he turns on this computer where apparently there's some kind of log kept. And when it comes to this log, there were 25 entries, but apparently he says, oh, I must be number 26. Now that right there is going to possibly be very important for later books down the road. Now, that is the moment where we do jump over to the Quiet Council. Now, remember, the Quiet Council is technically the government body for Krakoa. Now, with that being said, right now you have Magneto stepping down as one of the 10 people of the Quiet Council. Now, this is actually very huge because Magneto and Charles Xavier were the two characters that technically came together to build Krakoa, along with other people, but they were the two main, people of the island. And so right now with Magneto stepping down, it's very huge. You are talking about the idea of the Quiet Council losing one of the top 2 leaders of their group. But at the same time, this is coming out of Inferno. Remember, in Inferno, the rest of the Quiet Council found out that Charles Xavier and Magneto were keeping a big secret. And that big secret was Moira McTaggart, because when it came to Jonathan Hickman, he did some retconning, saying that Moira McTaggart was actually a mutant, and she had the ability to reincarnate, meaning that once she died, she was able to relive her entire life all over again, but technically giving her the ability to reset the timeline to become something different. And so when it came to the rest of the Quiet Council and really the rest of the mutant race, no one knew that she was a mutant. But of course, word got out to the rest of the Quiet Council. And so technically, this is Magneto saying it's probably better for me to step down. At least one of us, Charles, to step down. And so he is stepping down. Now, another thing to point out is that right now they have to find someone to actually replace him. Now, like I said earlier, when it comes to Immortal X-Men, it really does focus on Mr. Sinister. And so right now, he's trying to pretend to be the smartest person in the room, but at the same time, not kind of give it away that he is the smartest person in the room. Because when it comes to Sinister, he always has different plans up his sleeves. And so when it comes to other people, he used those people as tools as a way to complete those different plans. And so of course, with Magneto stepping down, that means the Quiet Council now has to interview other people to replace Magneto on the Quiet Council. Now, you do have some very interesting characters kind of come up to the board and say, hey, you know what? Maybe I should join the Quiet Council. So for example, you do have Angel step up, you do have Pennis, you also have Gorgon, you have Vulcan, Abigail Brand, and Beast. Now, of course, once you have the Quiet Council being able to meet with every single one of them, well, of course, you have the Quiet Council come back and say, listen, every single one of them is a no for one particular reason. Now, really, for Kitty Pryde and also Nightcrawler, they kind of do mention that Beast is definitely a no. And the reason why, because Beast has completely changed. And honestly, that is true. But this is Immortal X-Men kind of saying, hey, you should go read X-Force, because X-Force really does show the downfall of Beast as a person. Either way, the Quiet Council unfortunately does not take any one of the people they have met to replace Magneto. Now that is the moment where we do jump over to the Five. Now remember, the Five are the ones who technically bring someone back to life, because they do have the ability to create you a brand new body and then download your memories into that new clone body after you have died. Now with that being said, one of the 5 people who are very important is Hope Summers. Now Hope Summers was very important in the Messiah Complex storyline. And the reason why, because after House of M, where most of the mutants had lost their abilities, there was a period of time where no new mutants were being born. But when Hope Summers came out, technically she was the first mutant born after House of M. And so a lot of people looked at her as the Messiah. And matter of fact, you have Exodus coming to her asking for her help. Now, Exodus truly does believe that she's still the Messiah, even though things have changed over time where technically you had a bunch of other mutants come to life. You still have Exodus say, no, you are technically still the Messiah, because without you, those other mutants later on couldn't come to life. Or the idea that mutants were able to regain their abilities wouldn't happen if you came to life. Now, either way though, you have Exodus coming to Hope saying, I need your help with something very particular, and I might think you be down for this idea. And so that is the moment where we do jump back over to the Quiet Council. Now, when we do, it's the Quiet Council right now trying to figure out who should replace Magneto. And matter of fact, they're meeting up with Selene. Now, Selene has been an old X-Men character. And matter of fact, there's an ongoing argument right now on who is the first mutant, Apocalypse or her? And I want to say Namor is now involved in some kind of way of saying who is the first mutant. Either way right now, is Selene saying she is the best fit to replace Magneto. Now the reason why she is saying that, because when it comes to Apocalypse, he was also great with magic. Meaning that if the nation was attacked by a magic user, he would have the ability to actually protect the island. And so with that being said, it's her saying, listen, Apocalypse been gone since the X-Osaurus event. And yes, you had replaced his spot with someone else, but that person does not know anything about magic. And right now you need someone on your Quiet Council who is great with magic. And matter of fact, she says, I am the perfect fit to replace Apocalypse, but to also replace Magneto, because I'm great with magic. Now, she does mention a past event that I want to cover where she technically did raise up a bunch of zombies on Genosha, sorry. Either way, she's saying she is the best fit. Now, here's the thing though. You have Hope Summers walk in. Now, when Hope Summers walk in, it's her saying, no, I feel like I should be on the Quiet Council. And this is what Exodus wanted. He wanted Hope to replace Magneto. Now, the reason why Exodus wants her to replace Magneto is because she is the Messiah to him. Because after her, some things did happen for the mutant race. A lot of good things, but at the same time, a lot of bad things as well. Either way, to Exodus, she is still the Messiah. Either way right now, you have Hope explain that the reason why she feels like that she is the better fit is because she is technically the leader of the 5. And she says, without me, there will be no 5. Meaning that without me, y'all would not have the ability to actually be able to bring people back to life. Meaning that I, myself, do deserve a little bit more of, power here. And so she says, it's about time for someone from the 5 to be able to actually sit with the rest of the Quiet Council. And so right now, the Quiet Council has to sit down and figure out who to take, Selene or Hope Summers. Now that is the moment where you do have the Quiet Council sit down and begin the process of actually figuring out if they want Hope or Selene to actually join the Quiet Council. Now, they do start off with Hope first. And the reason why, because if Hope does get more no votes, meaning that she cannot join the Quiet Council, and then they can move on to Selene. Now, if Selene gets no votes, then both women cannot join the Quiet Council. Now, when it comes to Sinister, he really does want Hope on the Quiet Council. Because again, when it comes to Sinister, he always has some kind of big plans up his sleeve. Meaning that when it comes to Hope, he has something planned for her down the road. But unfortunately, he has to pretend that he does not want her on the Quiet Council, but he believes that because he is the smartest person in the room, that he knows who is going to say yes, and there'll be more yes than no's that will let Hope join the Quiet Council. The problem is though, at first, he's correct. Colossus says no, Mystique says yes, Charles says no. He's all like, yep, I knew they would all say yes or no. But when it comes to Destiny, he feels like Destiny is gonna say yes, but Destiny says no. And that right there ruins his plan, because he also says no, because he's pretending that he doesn't want Hope on the Quiet Council, but in reality, he does. Now here's the thing though, because Destiny said no, he freaks out because he knows Destiny has the ability to see possible futures and wondering if she knows what he is trying to do. And so he does change his plan, saying, oh wait, you know what? I know I said no to my vote, but my vote is now yes. And because he said yes, now Hope has more yes votes, meaning that Hope has now replaced Magneto and she has joined the Quiet Council. Now we do see Charles Xavier actually inform Selene about the idea that she was not chosen to join the Quiet Council. Now, here's the thing, and I did kind of skip over this part, but Selene did tell Charles and the rest of the Quiet Council that you better choose me or else, meaning that if you choose Hope and not me, there's going to be some problems. And so you have Charles telling Selene you are not chosen. Now, here's the big thing though. Sinister still believed that he knows how everybody works. And so he believed that even if they did not choose Selene, there is no way she was going to go crazy and attack the island. Unfortunately, he is wrong, because Selene is very upset about the idea that she was not chosen. And so with that being said, you have Selene release a huge monster on the island that apparently is so powerful it could technically be able to destroy the entire island. And then she leaves to go to New England. And so now the rest of the mutants on the island have to find a way to stop this creature. Now you have Sinister also freak out because once again he was wrong about something else. And this leads us into the crazy moment of the story. And what I mean by that is we do pick up with Sinister going to his laboratory. And when he does, he announces to us that apparently he has been cloning Moira Taggart. Now, let me explain why. Because we have to remember, when it comes to Moira Taggart, she has the ability to reincarnate. Meaning that if she dies, all her memories go back to the starting point of her life when she is a baby, technically inside her mom's womb. Now, with that being said though, she's able to remember everything from her past life, which gives her the ability to relive her life like she wants to, or technically relive her life in a new way. And so technically she's able to reset the timeline. And so Sinister had made a bunch of clones of her, and the reason why, because their X genes are also activated as well, meaning that they have the same powers as the original Moira Taggart. And so when they die, their memories also go back to the starting point of Moira Taggart's life. Now, the reason why he's doing that, because it technically gives him the ability to reset the timeline. Because once these clones die, he's actually being able to send memories, false memories, into the starting point of Moira Taggart's life. And once she's technically old enough, she'll be found by a past version of Sinister who had already discovered her, who had already thought the process of using her and then download the memories of her to technically learn about what happened in other possible futures. I really hope I technically explained that the best I could, because honestly, it is freaking crazy. But technically, Sinister now has the ability to control Moira McTaggart's powers to reset the timeline any kind of way he wants to, or technically reset the timeline if he gets bored. Yeah, this story got weird, guys. And so getting into the second chapter of this storyline, Immortal X-Men #2, we actually do pick up right now with Hope Summers trying to figure out how to stop this monster that Selene had made and put on the island. Now, I really do like this moment a lot. And the reason why, because technically, even though this book is really focusing more on Mr. Sinister, it's also focusing on Hope Summers as well. Like technically, they're equally being focused on. Now with Hope Summers, it's her kind of thinking back to her old days. And what I mean by that is, after she was born, she was found by Cable, and Cable took her away to a possible far, far future, where of course he had trained her. And so when she came back to the present day, she was no longer a baby, she was I want to say a young adult like she is right now. Either way, because she was trained by Cable, she knows how to use guns, she knows how to fight, she knows how to do a lot of different things when it comes to protecting people, but also fighting against people. And so with her right now trying to fight against this creature, is her right now kind of remembering her old days of being more out in the field rather than being kept behind some doors to just bring back mutants who had died over time. Either way right now, she's kind of wishing that she was able to do more. Now, you do have Storm and Magneto step in, and honestly, this was a very cool moment because it's Storm and Magneto. They are both Omega level mutants. Like technically right now, we have no idea what is their upper limits when it comes to their powers. But here it comes the big problem though, because you do have Dr. Nemesis call in to all the X-Men who are fighting against the creature and saying, if you kill that creature or feed that creature too much energy and explodes, it's going to be a huge bomb, which technically means it could technically blow up the entire island, killing us all. And so if you want to save the day, you have to find a way to move that creature off the island far enough away so that when it does explode, we don't die with it. Now, something else I do want to mention, that right now you have Selene actually meeting up with the Coven of COPPA. Now, the Coven of COPPA is actually very important. And the reason why, because we actually saw them in the Excalibur series. They were technically able to kind of take over the government of Great Britain and technically make the country hate their new Captain Britain just because she is a mutant. But on top of that, the Coven of COPPA actually works for Morgan Le Fay, who's right now in Otherworld plotting more evil things to do to the mutant race. Either way right now, she's out there chilling while you have the island of Krakoa dealing with her monster. And so that is the moment where we do jump over to Mr. Sinister. Now, when we do, it's Mr. Sinister kind of reminding us that technically he was working on an experiment where he was trying to make a clone body of him that would have the abilities of different mutants all in one body of himself, technically. Now, he also was working on another experiment where he was able to inject other mutants' DNA into his body so that he'll be able to have their powers as well along his. Now, this experiment was not done yet, meaning that he was only able to use these powers for a short moment, but that short moment is all he needs to actually take care of this monster, because with Sinister being able to grab the monster and take it far away enough from the island that once it does explode, yes, the monster did explode, but the island is saved. But on top of that, Sinister was able to take that explosion like it was nothing because he took a bunch of other mutants' abilities where they're very durable to things like that, a huge explosion. And you have Nightcrawler being able to bring him back over to the island. And so technically right now, you could say that Sinister was the hero of the book. And so that is the moment where you do have Destiny actually confront Hope Summers. Now, when she does, we have to remember that when it comes to Destiny and her visions, she only sees possible futures, meaning that they could happen or not happen. But right now, she's telling Hope Summers, I believe that you are going to deal with Selene. And so I want to tell you where she is at so that you can deal with her. And matter of fact, Hope Summers does go deal with Selene by using a sniper and shooting Selene in the head or chest, wherever, and basically killing her off. Now, you do have Hope actually bring Selene back to life. And the reason why, because when you're brought back to life, that first few moments, you're very confused about what happened to you. And so with Selene coming back to life, she is very confused about what happened to her. And so with those first few moments, you actually do have Exodus being able to control her mind so that she's able to get rid of any magical thing that she had put on the island to make things hard for Krakoa. And once Exodus is able to force Selene to do that, you did have Hope Summers kill her off all over again. And so technically right now, Selene is dead with the idea of her never coming back for the time being. Now that is the moment where you do have the Quiet Council actually come back together to say Hope Summers is now part of the Quiet Council. But they also want to question what Hope Summers did to Selene. Now you have Hope say that what she did to Selene is actually okay. And the reason why she is saying that because Selene did break a law. And that law was to respect the land we live on. And so when she attacked the island, she no longer respected the land. And so it gave Hope the ability to actually go ahead and kill her off without worrying being punished by the Quiet Council. Either way, Hope is now part of the Quiet Council. Now, this is where things kind of end on a cliffhanger, because you didn't have Mr. Sinister go over to Destiny to talk to her more about the idea if she knows what he's actually planning or what she's hiding from him. But she then tells him once again, like she did back in the year 1919, that him and her must be on the same side because a war is coming soon. But to wrap up today's video, you do have Mystique and Destiny walking together. And when they do, they are right now just walking and talking about the idea of what Destiny has seen in the future that is so important for her and Sinister to be on the same side. But while the two characters are walking together, that is the moment where you have her have another vision. And when it comes to this vision, she begins to freak out and basically fall over. And right now, whatever she saw is scaring her to death, literally. Either way, this is where we are going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, I'll see y'all next time. Later.